I've done a lot of crazy things and I've had a lot of accomplishments in my life.
Remember,
Hi, everybody. Mama's here. Ah! So let's get this party rolling.
One of the things that I love most about my show is that when I travel the world, a lot of people tell me that we inspire them to want to bake. We inspire them to, want to go.
The trick for the best cannoli, it's the cream. It's about good ingredients, ricotta, sugar, vanilla.
Remember Buddy Valastro from Cake Boss? Here's him now. The Cake Boss kept a secret for decades. At 27, Buddy Valastro had his first panic attack. He hid it while smiling on camera for millions. By 2020, he was running 14 bakeries, 7 restaurants, and 75 vending machines. Then a freak accident destroyed his hand. His sons watched him scream as they sawed through metal to save him. Today, he's worth over $10 million, but his kids are already dividing the empire. One makes $150,000 without touching flour, another went viral with 12 million views, and his own real transformation will shock you. Buddy Valastro was born on March 3, 1977 in Hoboken, New Jersey. His parents were Italian immigrants who came to America with big dreams but very little money. The family lived in a small apartment above Carlo's bakery. The smell of fresh bread filled the air, but so did the stress of unpaid bills. His father, Barlow Sr., worked 16-hour shifts, sometimes sleeping on sacks of flour when he was too tired to walk home. His mother Mary stayed up late counting pennies, trying to decide if she could afford both milk and the electric bill. They survived on day-old pastries and whatever didn't sell in the shop. Buddy wore clothes handed down from his 4 older sisters and slept on the living room couch. Life was tough, but that struggle taught him the value of hard work and gratitude. When Buddy was just 11, his life changed. His father was diagnosed with lung cancer. The family needed help to keep the bakery running, so while other kids played baseball or video games, Buddy went to work after school. He scrubbed mixing bowls and mopped floors. He piped buttercream roses until his hands cramped. His days started at 6 a.m. and ended well after dark. He earned just $20 a week, but he learned everything from making pastries to managing orders. By age 13, he could bake wedding cakes worth $800. That money helped keep the lights on and paid the mortgage. Those sacrifices would become the building blocks of his future success. But nothing could prepare him for what happened in 1994. He was only 17 when his father died of a sudden heart attack. The grief hit hard, but the pressure was even worse. The bakery was struggling, sales were down, debts were rising. Without skipping a beat, Buddy stepped in. He had no business experience, no training, and no time to figure things out. Slowly, he dropped out of high school, a decision that haunted him for years while his friends went to college. He was waking up at 4 a.m. to bake bread and manage payroll. His days were long, his back hurt constantly, and the doubt never left his mind. Was this the right path? Had he given up too much? He watched his friends build their futures while he was stuck in a kitchen trying to keep the family afloat. The stress was unbearable. He wasn't just running a business. He was the only one providing for his mother and 4 sisters. He had panic attacks, he lost sleep, he cried when no one was looking. There were moments when everything felt like too much, but he never quit. Between 1998 and 2003, Buddy faced a string of failures that hit hard both emotionally and financially. One of the worst came when he tried to make a fancy Italian wedding cake using $800 worth of imported Belgian chocolate. Just hours before the wedding, the cake collapsed. The family had to work all night and spend another $1,200 on ingredients to save the event. Another time, Buddy overbaked 200 cannoli shells while testing a new method. That single mistake cost $400, almost a full week of profits for the struggling bakery. These disasters were crushing, but they also pushed Buddy to become more careful, more precise. Every mistake taught him something, and every risk, no matter how costly, was a step toward mastering his craft. During those early years, from 1994 to 2005, The bakery was barely hanging on. Monthly revenue hovered around $8,000, just enough to cover rent, utilities, and ingredients. Some winter days brought in as little as $150. That was all. Just 40 to 50 regular customers, most of them elderly Italian Americans, kept the lights on. The bakery itself was tiny, only 800 square feet. It could fit 6 customers at a time, and some of the equipment was so old it dated back to the 1960s. When display cases broke and spoiled the pastries, the family lost hundreds. There was no money for replacements. Instead, they used tools from home to fix what they could. Buddy often worked 16-hour shifts, 7 days a week, earning less than minimum wage. It was a brutal, grinding existence, but it kept the bakery alive. Through it all, it was a family affair. Buddy wasn't doing this alone. His mother Mary handled the money. She had no business degree, but she kept a tight grip on the budget and argued over every dollar. His 4 sisters each played a role. Grace was the warm, smiling face that greeted customers. Melina ran inventory like a drill sergeant. Mary focused on decorating. Lisa dealt with suppliers. They argued constantly about money, schedules, relationships, but they were still a family, and somehow that mix of love and tension worked. What felt like chaos at the time would later become the perfect setup for reality TV. Their personalities clashed in ways that felt real, and those real moments. Fights, hugs, business talks, family drama would go on to make them famous. But before the fame came the lowest point. Between 2001 and 2004, things almost fell apart completely. Big commercial bakeries started moving in, slashing prices and staying open longer. In 2002, one opened just 3 blocks away. They offered similar Italian pastries at 30% less thanks to automated equipment and bulk buying. Almost overnight, Carlo's Bakery lost nearly 40% of its customers. Monthly revenue fell to $4,800. That wasn't even enough to cover the bills. Buddy began to consider giving up. He looked into selling the business. A few buyers offered between $45,000 and $60,000. The stress was overwhelming. Buddy stopped eating properly and dropped 25 pounds. He couldn't sleep. His mother had to take a job at a local grocery store just to bring in extra money. His sisters started searching for other jobs. Then came the turning point. In late 2003, the family sat down and had a tough conversation. They agreed to try for just 1 more year. If things didn't improve, they'd walk away for good. That decision changed everything. They put everything they had into making it work, and slowly things started to turn around. In 2004, Buddy Valastro entered the Food Network Challenge. It was a tough competition where chefs from across the U.S. showed off their skills. Buddy wasn't just there to bake, he surprised everyone with his one-liners and charm. He won the $10,000 prize, but something bigger happened. He realized he had a talent for TV. That one win started his journey from being a local baker in Hoboken to becoming a national name. He never thought of himself as TV material, but producers saw something in him. That mix of humor, confidence, and baking talent became his brand. By 2007, Buddy was back on the Food Network Challenge, not to compete, but to mentor others. It was more than just giving advice. He was quietly learning how TV worked. He paid attention to camera angles, storylines, and audience reactions. Behind the scenes, he was building the skills he'd need for his own show while running Carlo's Bakery. He was also preparing for something bigger. He wasn't just baking cakes anymore, he was building a reputation in the television world, one guest spot at a time. Then came the biggest surprise of all. When producers first pitched the idea of a reality show based on his bakery, Buddy said no more than once. He was afraid the cameras would ruin the art of cake decorating. He didn't want his craft to become a joke. But the producers didn't give up. Eventually, he gave in. In April 2009, Cake Boss premiered on TLC. It became an instant hit. It showed not just cakes, but his family, their arguments, the teamwork, and the chaos. Suddenly, Buddy wasn't just a baker, he was the cake boss. That premiere changed everything. The show exploded in popularity. Tourists flooded the Hoboken bakery. People lined up around the block just to catch a glimpse. Carlo's Bakery became a must-visit spot. But fame came with pressure. Filming nonstop, dealing with fans, and trying to keep the business running became a massive challenge. Still, Buddy managed to grow his bakery into something bigger than he had ever imagined. What shocked him most was how quickly it all happened. In just weeks, his small bakery turned into a national brand. Cake Boss ran from 2009 to 2020, 11 years of nonstop fame. It turned Buddy into a household name, but it also took away his privacy. Every part of his life became public. His mother Mary and his sisters became familiar faces on TV. In 2017, when his mother passed away, fans covered the bakery with flowers, cards, and artwork. People who never met her mourned like she was family. That's how personal the show had become. But it made grieving in private nearly impossible. Fame brought other problems too. Fans showed up at his house. Security became a real concern. He could no longer enjoy being just a small-town baker. Hoboken had changed. His life had changed. The bakery wasn't a quiet corner shop anymore. It was a global attraction. By 2010, the original shop on Washington Street couldn't handle the crowds. Tourists were everywhere. The city even renamed the street corner Carlo's Bakery Way. It was an honor, but it also caused traffic jams and stress. The bakery was never meant to serve that many people. But he needed a bigger space. So in November 2010, he opened a 30,000 square feet facility at the Lackawanna Center in Jersey City. It was massive. It had everything: ovens, offices, shipping stations. It cost millions, but now he could ship cakes nationwide. Family Bakery had become a full-blown food operation. But he didn't stop there. He wanted to grow even more. At one point, Carlo's Bakery had around 20 locations across multiple states, places like New York, Florida, Texas, and even Nevada. In 2013, he opened Buddy V's Restaurante in Las Vegas. Then came Pizza Cake, The Boss Cafe, and Buddy's Jersey Eats. He wasn't just a baker anymore, he was a food empire builder. In 2014, he launched a catering business too, and in 2019 he introduced cake ATMs, yes, machines that sold slices of cake. You could find them in places like Las Vegas, Toronto, and shopping centers across Canada and the US. Some cities had 30 of them. People loved the convenience. It was another way Buddy stayed ahead. That same year, in November 2010, he also released a book. It was called Cake Boss: Stories and Recipes from Mia Familia. It came out exactly 100 years after the bakery first opened in 1910. The book had 272 pages and included 37 recipes, everything from red velvet cake to cannoli. But it wasn't just about food, it told the story of his family, his mother, his father, his sisters, how they worked side by side to turn a dream into a legacy. The book hit the New York Times bestseller list. Critics praised it for blending baking wisdom with heartfelt stories. It wasn't just a cookbook, it was a tribute to family, tradition, and hustle. In 2012, the Hudson Reporter named Buddy one of Hudson County's 50 most influential people. Just 3 years after Cake Boss began, he had already made that much of an impact. Hoboken's tourism numbers soared. Local businesses grew, all thanks to the bakery on Washington Street. Buddy Valastro wasn't just baking cakes anymore. In October 2013, he opened Buddy V's Restaurante at the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas. People thought he was just a TV baker, but this move proved otherwise. The restaurant sat across from his famous Carlo's Bake Shop and cost over $2 million to build. He didn't do it alone. He teamed up with top industry names like Elizabeth Blau and Chef Kim Cantinwalla. The menu? All family recipes: Vastro's Sunday gravy, Nana's 7-layer lasagna. Huge portions. Big flavors. By 2024, the restaurant had hit its 10-year mark, something rare on the Strip, where most restaurants fold within 3 years. It wasn't just surviving, It was thriving, rated 4.3 stars from over 3,290 reviews. Ranked number 1 5 out of more than 5,000 restaurants in the city, and it even took home a Gold Winner Award from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. A year later, he didn't slow down. In 2014, he launched Buddy V's Events and Catering. Most would have waited, he didn't. People kept asking him about event planning and catering, so he decided to go big. He partnered with Jeffrey Spivak, one of the most energetic planners in the business. Together they tapped into the Las Vegas event scene, which brings in over $11 billion every year. Valastro brought the food, Spivak brought the logistics. They offered high-end catering using Buddy's signature Italian recipes. In a market where big-name chefs can charge up to $2,000 per person, Buddy carved out a space quickly. He now had two income streams feeding into each other, restaurants and events, and both were booming. Then came something no one expected. In 2016, Valastro became the face of Whole Earth Sweetener Company. Yes, the king of sugar was now promoting zero-calorie sweeteners. The campaign was called Rethink Sweet. It went against everything people thought he stood for, but he embraced it, creating new recipes with fewer calories that still tasted good. The partnership likely paid well. Celebrity deals like this often bring in anywhere from $500,000 to $5 million a year. He rolled out festive recipes during the holidays and reached a whole new audience. The message was clear: he could evolve, and he wasn't afraid to take risks to stay relevant. In 2018, he surprised everyone again, this time with dog treats. Not just any treats, though, Italian-inspired snacks for pets made in partnership with the Pound Bakery, chicken parmesan, pizza bites, meatballs for dogs. They were wheat-dash, corn-dash, and soy-free, baked in the USA, and designed for dogs with sensitive stomachs. The Pound Bakery had over 20 years of experience and serious manufacturing certifications. Valastro found a way to extend his Italian brand to man's best friend. At the time, the pet treat industry was worth over $7 billion a year. He jumped into that market with a product no other celebrity chef had even considered. Then came cake ATMs, yes, ATMs for cake. In November 2019, he launched refrigerated vending machines in Toronto. These weren't small-time machines. They could hold 8 whole cakes and 160 slices. They were stocked daily with locations in the busy path system of downtown Toronto: rainbow cake, red velvet, chocolate fudge. It was all their slices. Went for $89.99 each, full cakes up to $44.99. That's double or triple the price of most convenience store desserts, but people paid it. These machines weren't temporary either. They were long-term investments and could each pull in over $500,000 a year in the right spot. It was a bold retail move that brought his bakery to customers 24/7 without opening new stores. All of this was happening while he was running a TV empire. It started with Cake Boss, but he didn't stop there. In 2010 he launched Next Great Baker, a year later Kitchen Boss, then Buddy's Bakery Rescue, Bake You Rich, and Bakery Boss, all in just a few years. By 2013, he was juggling 6 shows on top of managing Carlo's Bakery and new businesses. He was flying across the country, filming nonstop, all while still baking. The workload was insane: long days, no weekends, barely any sleep. It wasn't just tough, it was dangerous. Bakery Boss was especially hard. He had to help struggling family bakeries survive. That meant confronting their emotional baggage, all while reliving his own. In 2019, Buddy vs. Duff turned up the heat even more: high-stakes cake battles against another pastry legend, Duff Goldman. These cakes weren't just big, they were architectural feats, and the pressure was brutal. Then in 2020, he did Buddy vs. Christmas. But that same year, disaster struck. A metal rod from a bowling alley pin setter jammed through his hand 3 times. His teenage sons had to saw him free. Multiple surgeries followed, and yet he kept filming. He was still working, even with his dominant hand barely functioning. Every new show needed bigger cakes, more drama, more spectacle. He had to outdo himself again and again, standing for hours, carving sugar, lifting layers. His body was breaking down, but he couldn't slow down. The audience expected the cake boss, and he delivered, at a massive personal cost. No sleep, no breaks, and the constant need to innovate left him completely drained. He hit it well, but behind the camera, the damage was real. At 27, he had his first panic attack. It hit so hard, he went to the emergency room. The stress, the deadlines, the pressure to always be perfect, it all exploded. For years, he kept it quiet. No one knew he was battling anxiety while smiling on camera. In one episode of Bakery Boss, he helped another baker through a panic attack. What viewers didn't know was that he had lived it himself. He knew exactly how it felt. He had pushed through breakdowns, surgeries, and panic attacks to keep the brand alive. Buddy Valastro thought it was just going to be a relaxing night with his family. It was September 20th, 2020. He was at home, enjoying the private bowling alley in his New Jersey mansion. Everything seemed normal, until it wasn't. Out of nowhere, the pin setter machine jammed. But instead of just stopping, it went haywire. The machine didn't just malfunction, it became a trap. In a matter of seconds, Buddy's right hand was pulled into the machine. A thick metal rod shot through it, not once, not twice, but 3 times. The pain was instant. The rod went all the way through his hand. He couldn't move. He was pinned in place. Every small twitch sent waves of agony through his body, his fingers, palm, even the back of his hand. Everything was hit. It was more than pain, it was panic. Blood poured out. The machine wouldn't let go. And then came the unthinkable. His teenage sons had to save him. They ran to get an electric saw. These kids, still just boys, had to cut through the rod that was holding their father hostage. Imagine that, shaking hands, screams in the background. One wrong move could have made it worse. But they didn't stop. They kept going. They cut through metal while their dad screamed in pain. Somehow, they freed him. Buddy was rushed to the hospital. Doctors didn't sugarcoat it. The rod had likely torn through tendons, muscles, and nerves. They said he might never bake again. For Buddy, that was more than just a job, that was his life. His hands were his tools, his art, his future. And now they might be ruined. The surgeries began immediately, one after another, 5 in total. By 2023, a 6th still ahead. Each one was brutal. Each one chipped away at the damage. He went through months of therapy. He had to relearn everything: how to grip, how to squeeze, how to decorate a cake again. By 2023, he had regained 95% of his hand strength. It was a miracle, really, but it came with pain, frustration, and endless work. Then in 2023, just as he was finding his rhythm again, he made a bold move. He left TLC and launched 2 new shows on A&E, Cake Dynasty and Legends of the Fork. Both premiered on November 11th. This wasn't just a TV comeback, it was a full reset. He shifted the focus from cake tricks to real-life stories. One show followed his family as they learned the ropes of running the business. The other took him across America to explore legendary restaurants and their secrets. In Cake Dynasty, we saw a different side of Buddy, one who was now more of a mentor than a star. His son Buddy Jr., just 19, was debating whether to skip college and join the business. His daughter Sophia, 20, surprised everyone with a stunning cake she made for her brother's confirmation. It made Buddy wonder, maybe she was the future of Carlo's Bake Shop. The business was no small thing anymore. They were running 14 bakeries, 7 restaurants, and 75 vending machines. This was an empire, and it needed a new generation to take the wheel. Meanwhile, Legends of the Fork gave Buddy a new role. He wasn't the star baker anymore, he became a storyteller. He met chefs, explored old restaurants, and shared the cultural history behind American food. Each place had a story, and Buddy listened. He didn't just show the food, he showed what it meant. And it worked. In June 2024, less than a year after launching the show, Buddy won a Daytime Emmy, Outstanding Culinary Host. It was his first Emmy ever. He beat some of the biggest names in the industry. On Instagram, he called it a dream come true. For someone who almost lost his career and his hand, it was the ultimate comeback. But Buddy's story goes beyond the stage and screen. His marriage to Lisa, which started in 2001, held strong through all of it. They've raised 4 kids: Sophia, Buddy Jr., Marco, and Carlo. Lisa managed the chaos behind the scenes. She kept the family grounded, especially during the injury and recovery years. In 2014, they moved into a $2.5 million mansion in Montville. It had everything: a gourmet kitchen, a home theater, even a cake decorating studio. Property taxes alone were over $35,000 a year, but it was worth it. By 2025, the home was valued at over $3.2 million. And now, the next generation is starting to build their own legacy. Sophia, now 22, started a marketing consultancy and made $150,000 for her clients in just 2 years. Buddy Jr., 21, is developing a sports-themed bakery concept. Marco, 18, went viral for recreating one of his dad's most iconic cakes, 12 million views in 3 days. Carlo, the youngest at 14, is already taking cooking classes every weekend in New York. Each child is shaping a new piece of the family empire. But he's also never stopped giving back. Since 2010, he's donated more than $2.3 million through cakes, time, and money. He's granted over 100 wishes through the Make-A-Wish Foundation. One of the most touching moments came in 2018 when he built a 500-pound cake model of a children's hospital for a young patient's 47th surgery. He even funded a mobile bakery truck for Special Olympics events, offering both treats and job training for athletes. In 2023 alone, his foundation gave out $180,000 in scholarships to young culinary students.